Engines on Sir Topham Hatt's railway love Brendam docks. There's always lots of work to keep them busy, and they enjoy seeing new arrivals onto the island of Sodor. An exciting new arrival was an engine Cranky the crane was unloading. It was heavy. "This makes my chain ache," groaned Cranky. "This is Harvey, the crane engine," Sir Topham Hatt said proudly. The other engines thought Harvey looked strange. Harvey was happy to be on the ground. He didn't like dangling from Cranky's arm at all. "These gentlemen are the railway board," Sir Topham Hatt said. "Tomorrow Harvey will give them a demonstration. If it goes well, he will join the railway." "What's a demonstration?" "Demonstration," said Thomas. "It's when you show off what you can do." "Like when Thomas and I have a race," said Bertie. "Vroom, vroom." That evening, Thomas had just returned from a hard day's work. He saw Harvey parked near the sheds. Harvey could hear the other engines talking about him. This made him sad. "Harvey's different," said Henry. "He doesn't even look like an engine," said Edward. "Surely Sir Topham Hatt won't let him pull coaches," sniffed Gordon. "He's just Cranky on wheels," said James. "He's not taking my mail," said Percy. Thomas felt sorry for Harvey. "Don't worry. Sometimes it takes time to make new friends." But Harvey wasn't sure he wanted to stay where no one wanted him. The next morning, Sir Topham Hatt sent the engines off to a useful day's work. "Maybe my coming here wasn't such a good idea, sir," Harvey chuffed sadly. "Nonsense," said Sir Topham Hatt. "But the engines don't like me. I'm too different." "Different is what makes you special." And that made Harvey feel better. Out on the branch line, Percy was having trouble with the trucks. "Faster we go, pull 'em along, don't let 'em slow." "Help!" cried Percy. His driver applied the brakes. But it was too late. He went off the rails at Bulgy's bridge. Luckily, no one was hurt. Bertie arrived and was pleased Percy was all right, but he was also very cross. "You've blocked the road," Bertie snapped. He was worried he wouldn't get the gentlemen of the railway board to the demonstration on time. When Sir Topham Hatt heard the news, he went straight to Harvey. "I need you to rescue one of my engines." "I'll do my best, sir," Harvey said bravely, and he set off immediately. Harvey soon arrived and went to work. In no time, Percy was back on the tracks. The gentlemen of the railway board were very impressed. "That was the best demonstration of all. The gentlemen of the railway board have decided you shall join the railway." "Oh, thank you, sir," said Harvey proudly. That night, Harvey heard the engines talking again. This time it was different. "Well done, Harvey," said Gordon. "Very useful," said James. "You can take my mail," said Percy. "You see," said Thomas, "different can be good." All the engines agreed. "Welcome to the Sodor Railway," they called. Harvey smiled happily. Thomas the tank engine enjoys taking specials. Today he was bringing a special to Brendam docks. His load was to go onto a cargo ship. The ship was scheduled to depart at sundown. Thomas had to get to the docks before then. But the load was very heavy. So Thomas puffed as hard as he could. He pulled so hard, he broke his coupling rods. He wasn't going anywhere. "Oh dear," Thomas said, "I'll be late." His driver saw an old shed near the track. "If there's a telephone in there, I could call for help," he said. "Hurry," said Thomas, "and be careful. It looks spooky." Then a voice boomed from inside the shed. "Do you mind? I'm trying to sleep." Thomas hoped it wasn't a ghost. Then his driver appeared. "Is it a ghost?" asked Thomas nervously. "It's a surprise," his driver teased. Then the fireman took some of Thomas's coal and headed off to the shed. "She could get us to the fitter's yard," his driver said. "If her boiler holds," added the fireman anxiously. What kind of surprise is that? Thomas wondered. "Thomas, meet Elizabeth," said his driver. At last, the doors opened, and out chuffed a dirty, grimy steam truck. "So you're the little puffer that's broken down," she sniffed. Thomas was cross. "And you're just an old steam truck," he retorted. "That would be vintage steam truck," snapped Elizabeth. "And I haven't much time to get to your coupling rods." The driver was concerned. Elizabeth was making awful grinding sounds. "She's not built for hills," he said anxiously. "You're losing steam," he called. "Just catching my breath," Elizabeth chuffed. And finally she made it. When Elizabeth returned with Thomas's coupling rods, she was pleased with herself. "And next time, don't be so careless," she scolded. Thomas thought Elizabeth was the rudest truck he'd ever met, but he was very happy to get his new coupling rods. Thomas made it to the docks just in time. "What took you so long?" said Sir Topham Hatt. Thomas told him about his broken coupling rods. He wanted to tell him how rude Elizabeth had been when she rolled up. "Oh, it's you," said Elizabeth, looking down at Sir Topham Hatt. "Have you learned to drive properly yet?" "She's in trouble now," said Thomas to his driver. "Elizabeth," said Sir Topham Hatt fondly. "My first truck. I thought you had been lost." They were old friends. It was too much for Thomas. Then Elizabeth told Sir Topham Hatt how she'd been left in the shed for years. Sir Topham Hatt was so pleased Elizabeth had been found. He asked Jem Cole to restore her to her original beauty. And soon Elizabeth had a rich, dark color and gleaming coachworks. "You're the grandest truck in the whole railway," Sir Topham Hatt said proudly. "I know," said Elizabeth even more proudly. And Thomas had to agree. She did look grand.
It was a sunny day on the island of Sodor, and all the engines were working hard. Gordon was feeling very excited.
Good morning, Thomas. I look my best, and do you know why?
Why?
Because a Duke and Duchess are visiting. Sir Topham Hatt will be choosing me as their special engine.
Pah! Puffed Thomas. After Gordon had been washed and polished, he rushed away to meet the visitors. But a signal diverted Gordon into a siding. He was very upset. "I'm going to be late," he muttered. A huge engine rocketed by. "Steaming pistons! Who's that?" Gordon soon found out. When he arrived at the shed, the huge engine was humming quietly.
Who are you? This is Spencer. He's the fastest engine in the world.
Huh. But secretly, Gordon was impressed. I'm the Duke and Duchess's private engine. I take them everywhere. Quiet. There will be a party for our guests at Marron Station.
That's far away over Gordon's Hill.
You'll need to take on plenty of water, muttered Gordon. I have plenty of water, wheezed Spencer. And he raced away. I was only trying to be useful, grunted Gordon. Spencer showed the Duke and Duchess many beautiful places. But he never stopped once to take on more water. Gordon and Thomas were collecting passengers when Spencer raced through on his way to the party.
Don't forget the water. Who cares?
He'll be in trouble soon, sighed Thomas. And Spencer was. He ran out of water on Gordon's Hill.
Why didn't I listen?
Sighed Spencer. Sir Topham Hatt soon heard the news.
I'll send Gordon.
When Gordon arrived, the station master was waiting.
You need to rescue Spencer. He's stuck on the hill.
Hurry, Gordon, said his driver. Gordon was looking forward to seeing Spencer.
Run out of water?
He teased.
Yes, snapped Spencer. I must have a leaky tank.
Perhaps, smiled Gordon.
But we'd better hurry. Everyone is waiting.
Gordon switched to Spencer's line and was coupled up. Then they set off.
See,
said Gordon,
we're right on time.
Spencer was embarrassed. What do you think of Spencer now? Whispered Thomas.
Too much puff and not enough steam.
Well done, Gordon, said Sir Topham Hatt. You are the fastest engine on Sodor. I know that, muttered Gordon.
Thomas's day off. The engines on the island of Sodor were always very busy. They liked being busy. And no engine liked being busy more than Thomas. But sometimes Thomas also liked to have a day off. One autumn morning, Sir Topham Hatt came to Tidmouth Sheds. He had important news. "A new diesel engine has arrived on the island," he boomed. "His name is Dennis. You must all help him to get to know the Sodor Railway. And Thomas," added Sir Topham Hatt, "you have been working very hard. Today you can have a day off." Thomas was very pleased. "First I will have a long washdown," Thomas chuffed cheerfully. "Then I shall go to Bluff's Cove." On his way to the washdown, Thomas saw a diesel he had never seen before. The diesel was huffing and puffing. "Hello," Thomas tooted. "You must be Dennis. What's the matter?" "These troublesome trucks are too troublesome. I can't shunt them." "It's my day off," whistled Thomas. but I'll help you." This made Dennis very happy. Dennis watched Thomas biff and bump the troublesome trucks into line. "All done," puffed Thomas. It was hard work, and he was tired. "Thank you, Thomas," oiled Dennis, and he watched Thomas chuff away. Soon, Thomas was covered in bubbles. "Shiny and bright, that's what I'll be to start my day right," he chirped cheerfully. Dennis wasn't cheerful. Dennis was lazy. He didn't want to deliver his freight cars of tiles. Then he saw Thomas. Dennis had an idea. He would ask Thomas to help him again. "Help! Help!" Dennis called weakly. Thomas slowed down. "I don't know how to get to the schoolhouse," Dennis groaned. "Don't worry, Dennis," Thomas puffed. "I'll show you the way." Dennis smiled. His trick had worked. So Thomas showed Dennis the way to the junction. "The schoolhouse is further along that track," wheezed Thomas. Dennis watched Thomas puff away. Dennis had wanted Thomas to take his freight cars for him. Suddenly, Dennis had another idea. He blasted his horn again. Then again. Thomas heard the noise. He was worried. Dennis watched Thomas come back. His new trick had worked. Now Dennis would pretend to have something wrong with him. "Help!" Dennis cried. "I'm overheated. You'll have to shunt those freight cars for me." Thomas knew it was his day off, but he still wanted to help. "Don't worry," puffed Thomas. "I'll find another engine to help you. On my way to Bluff's Cove." Dennis was cross. He wanted Thomas to shunt his freight cars. Dennis decided to leave his freight cars. Then another engine will have to take them, he thought. So Dennis raced away. He didn't care about the tires. He didn't care about Thomas. All he cared about was getting far away from his work. His wheels were spinning faster and faster. Then there was trouble. "Help!" called Dennis. "Help! Help!" But this time, there was no one there to help. Thomas arrived at a signal. Percy had some important news. "The workmen are waiting for Dennis to bring the tiles to repair the school roof. The children can't go to school until it's mended. And no one knows where Dennis is," Percy added. "I do," wheezed Thomas. "He's broken down. I must go back to help him right away." Thomas quickly found Dennis. Thomas was very surprised. "I thought you broke down at the junction," wheezed Thomas. "And where are the freight cars of tiles?" Dennis looked very shamefaced. "I tricked you," said Dennis quietly. "There was nothing wrong with me at the junction. I just didn't want to pull those heavy freight cars. I'm a really lazy engine," moaned Dennis. Dennis's wheels wobbled and his diesel oil dripped. Now Thomas could see that Dennis really was in trouble. So Thomas decided to help one more time. "I'll pull you back onto the tracks," Thomas puffed. "Then I'll be your back engine. That way we'll get the tiles to the schoolhouse in double quick time." Dennis smiled his biggest smile ever. Dennis and Thomas finally pulled into the schoolhouse station. Sir Topham Hatt was waiting. "Dennis, you have caused confusion and delay," he boomed. Dennis felt bad. "Thomas has shown me that being a really useful engine is much better than being really lazy," Dennis wheezed. Sir Topham Hatt was pleased. Thomas was pleased too. "Thank you, Thomas," Dennis hooted. "From now on, I will try to be a really useful engine." Don't be silly, Billy. All the engines on Sir Topham Hatt's railway are proud of being really useful. Gordon likes being the best express. Percy likes pulling the mail cars on time. And Thomas likes being given a special. One morning, Thomas arrived at Brendam Docks. He was excited. "Today I have to look after a new engine," tooted Thomas. "Well, that's a special job, me hearty," smiled Salty. And here he is. The new engine was shiny, orange, and puffing with pride. Billy," whistled the new engine. "Let's go." "Wait, Billy," tooted Thomas. "We can't go yet. We have to wait for Sir Topham Hatt." "Why?" huffed Billy. "Because he tells us what we are to do," whistled Thomas. Billy didn't want to wait for Sir Topham Hatt. He wanted to go. Sir Topham Hatt arrived. "Billy," he boomed, "you have a very busy day." Billy beamed. "First, you must take empty chicken cars to the farm and bring the chickens back to the docks. Then you are to deliver diesel oil to the quarry. And lastly, you have to take coal to the depot." "Yes, sir," bubbled Billy happily. "Right away, sir." "Thomas, you must show Billy how to be a really useful engine," added Sir Topham Hatt. And he left. "Billy," Thomas steamed, "you must pull the chickens slowly and smoothly." "I know that," sighed Billy. He pumped his pistons impatiently. "Don't pump your pistons before you're ready to leave," whistled Thomas. "It wastes coal and water." Billy puffed and huffed. "And first, you must take on enough coal and water for a busy day," added Thomas. "Thomas," huffed Billy, "stop telling me what to do. You are a very bossy engine." And Billy raced off. "He thinks you're a bossy boiler, me hearty," laughed Salty. Thomas didn't like being called bossy. He had promised Sir Topham Hatt he would look after Billy, so Thomas chased after him. Thomas was pleased to find Billy at the farm, but Billy wasn't pleased to see Thomas. "Billy, you must take on coal and water." "Don't tell me what to do, Thomas," huffed Billy. "You are a very bossy engine." And Billy steamed off. "Silly Billy, you've forgotten the chickens," Farmer McCall called. "Bother, Billy," wheezed Thomas. And he chuffed quickly off towards the quarry. Thomas was pleased to find Billy at the quarry, but Billy wasn't pleased to see him. "You didn't pick up the chickens," puffed Thomas, "and you still haven't taken on coal and water." "Stop telling me what to do, Thomas," huffed Billy. "You are a very bossy engine." And Billy steamed off. "He's forgotten our oil," wheezed Mavis. Thomas was worried, and he raced off quickly for the depot. Thomas was pleased to find Billy at the depot, but Billy wasn't pleased to see him. Billy had backed up two heavy wagons of diesel oil. "They need diesel oil at the quarry, not the depot," tooted Thomas. "And you still haven't taken on coal and water." "Stop telling me what to do, Thomas," huffed Billy. "You are a very, very bossy engine." Billy steamed off without the diesel oil. Thomas was worried, and he chased after Billy. Thomas was pleased to find Billy at the coaling plant. He was backing his wagons under the hopper, but he didn't see Percy there and he biffed him right under the hopper. Percy was covered in coal from funnel to footplate. "Watch out, silly Billy," Percy peeped. "Oh no," tooted Thomas. "You must be careful when you roll under the hopper, and you must take on coal and water now." "Thomas," huffed Billy, "stop telling me what to do. You are a very bossy engine." Thomas was very unhappy. He didn't want to be called bossy anymore. "Do whatever you want, Billy," he wished. This made Billy very happy, and he raced off. Suddenly, Billy stopped. He had run out of coal and water. "Cinders and ashes," cried Thomas. "I haven't taught Billy to be really useful at all." Thomas shunted Billy to the water tower. Then Billy's firebox was filled with coal. "I know you think I'm a bossy boiler," tooted Thomas, "but I've done all these jobs before. I can help you. Then no one will call you a silly Billy." So together, Billy and Thomas collected Farmer McColl's chickens and took them to the docks. Then they delivered the diesel oil to Mavis and Diesel at the quarry. And lastly, they delivered coal to the depot. Thomas was very tired. "Goodbye, Billy," he chuffed. "Sir Topham Hatt will be very pleased you finished all your jobs." Thomas started to puff away. "Thomas," bubbled Billy, "you're not a bossy boiler. You're a really useful engine, and I really enjoyed working with you." Thomas felt very happy. Billy wasn't a silly Billy anymore, and Thomas had made a really good friend.